Hi, my name is Todd, and I'm here to show you today how to use the VLOOKUP or vertical lookup tool in Excel. I am a data analyst for a large healthcare provider, and my job often requires me to pull together two sets of data for a report from my bosses. The VLOOKUP tool allows me to do that very quickly and easily, whereas if I were to do this manually for these hundreds of lines of data, it would take me hours, whereas the VLOOKUP tool allows me to do it in minutes. You can consider the VLOOKUP tool to work kind of like a phone book, where you're taking one set of information that you have and looking up a separate set of information that's not there. You do ultimately have both, kind of like you do in a phone book, but it's not in the place that you want it. So you're looking to bring it over. Um, Obviously, to do this, you're going to need a working device that can run Excel, such as a laptop or desktop or whatever else you may be using, a valid version of Excel, and your two lists of data. A quick little bit of a glossary. A formula or a function in Excel is a pre-programmed function that allows for additional computation or manipulation of data. The value is what you're looking to look up. The range is the location of the information you're looking for. The index is the column within the range containing the information you want returned. And then you need either an approximate match that'll return the first closest match, or the exact match that it needs to be a perfect match to the value. Now, the VLOOKUP can work with sets of data that are on the same sheet, or such as I've prepared here on sheets 2 and 3. If I wanted to work with these two sets of data here, it could also pull information from sheet 3 into sheet 2 for me. We're going to work with sheet 1 here, however. Um, Now, let's say I work in a grocery store and I wanted to, while I'm doing inventory, bring the price over to my inventory data. I have my little inventory here, but I don't have my prices with me. But over here, I've got a set of prices, and I don't want to necessarily have to bring those all over manually. So what I can do is you're going to start off to use a function or a formula by typing equal sign. In this case, V lookup, because that's what I'm looking for. Now you can see that Excel will prompt you with the appropriate formula. You can hit tab and it'll fill out the rest of that for you and start the function. Now it's going to fill out, give you some prompts here below as well, asking you what you need to do to complete the formula and make it work. In this case, your lookup, and I want to use banana here, so I can select that or type in A2, either way works. You're going to separate that with a comma, and it's going to, so it calls the range the table array. My range is my columns G and H here, and so I can either type G colon H or select it. Now my index, again, remember it's the first column is the where I want the information looked up. It's always got to be to the left here, so column G, and then the information I want is in column H, so that's number 2. So I'm going to type in a 2, and then I want an exact match here, and so I can either type in a 0 or I can type in false. Either way will return a exact match. And you can see now here that it's produced the 99 cents. You can also then grab this little square here and drag it down, and you can see that it's now taken all of those, it's copied that formula into each of those for me, and so I can quickly and easily return all of that data. You can imagine if I had hundreds of lines there of produce items or other grocery items, that I could get that price in there quickly and easily for all of them. Now, if I unhide this column, you can also see that even though this is still a formula that's located in the cell, it doesn't actually say 99 cents. It's not putting it in there. I can still use that to then produce a second formula as well. So let's say I wanted to say, okay, if I sold all 50 of these bananas at 99 cents, what would that revenue be? And so if I create a little formula here that says, I want to times my quantity by my price, it'll give me this. And same thing here, you can grab that little square in the bottom right, drag it down, and it'll tell me each time what the price would be. Now that's if you want an exact match. Now let's say, again, you don't always want an exact match. There are some occasions where you would want an approximate match. So, let's say I was trying to determine a discount for a product. Not everybody's always going to buy an exact number of 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. And so if I start another VLOOKUP here, and my value is going to be, let's say I'm going to use this column here, my quantity, my array, You can also, I did columns G and H. You can also give the exact range there. So in this case, K2 to L5. And you can do the column there. And once again, my column is number 2, and you can do it in more than 2. I mean, it could be 5, 6, 7 columns away, but you need to just be able to, make sure you count where your information is being looked up. So in this case, the quantity, and then where your final information that you're returning is in. And then in this case, I want an approximate match. So I type 1. And so right now you can see that it's giving me an error because there's no information here. There's nothing for it to look up. But now let's say I've got a customer that's buying 17 of this particular item. I type in 17, and you can see now that it's returning this 5% because you're not reaching the 20, it's returning the 5. I could change that format to a percent, so it would return it the same way that I have it over there, 5%. So that's how you would use the lookup tool. Step 1, you got to have your file open. Step 2, select the cell where you're going to look up. Step 3, you got to select, step 2 is you got to start your VLOOKUP formula by =, VLOOKUP. Step 3, select the cell containing the information you want. Step 4, you get your range. Step 5, the index, the column that you want to return. Step 6, whether you want the approximate or exact matches. Step 7, you got to verify and make sure that it's working. You got to make sure that it's not giving you that NA for the error there. And then lastly, for 8, extend the formula to the rest of your data if needed. A couple of quick advisories here. Obviously, you're working with a computer. It's not necessarily such a physically dangerous thing to worry about. But, as I mentioned, you can see that misaligning one of the steps, or if you ultimately later change the layout of the sheet, it may ultimately cause your formula to fail. So you just always want to be careful with that. Conversely, if you do it successfully, you may cause your coworkers to perceive you as some kind of Excel wizard. So do use with caution in that sense. Just to wrap up and conclude, remember that if the layout of either data set, in particular the range, is altered, again, after the formula is completed, it may affect the results displayed. But once you are completing it correctly, you can enjoy the extra time you save by using the lookup tool. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.